Convoy to Rikers Island. Inside New York's most notorious jail exposed. True crime documentary. If you think you know New York's darkest secrets, subscribe now, hit the bell and buckle up. This is the story they tried to bury. Rain slicks the FDR Drive like black glass as a convoy of Department of Correction buses barrels south toward the East River. Their diesel engines growl under the midnight skyline. Window grills flash in staccato from passing streetlights. Inside, the air is a sour mix of sweat, tension, and anticipation. Shackled wrists shift on vinyl seats. Some men stare out at the city they're leaving behind, others mutter prayers. Everyone knows where they're going. Rikers Island, the sprawl of concrete and razor wire wedged between Queens and the Bronx, a place whispered about in holding cells as if it were a myth or a curse. At the lead of the convoy sits a young correction captain named David Morales. 33 years old, a Marine veteran with a square jaw and a permanent 5 o'clock shadow, Morales has done this run hundreds of times. Tonight feels different. In the third bus back is a high-profile detainee whose case has been splashed across the tabloids, 19-year-old Andre Dre Carter, accused of orchestrating a brazen robbery that left a city councilman's aide in a coma. The public calls him a monster. Inside the precinct, rumors swirl. Carter may be innocent or worse, a pawn in a deeper conspiracy reaching into City Hall. The buses take the exit for the bridge that connects Queens to the island, a narrow, elevated strip of asphalt that seems to vanish into darkness. Below, the East River churns like molten steel. The island itself emerges, low and flat, dotted with squat buildings, fences crowned with coiled razor. Searchlights sweep lazily, then hold steady on the incoming convoy. Morales grips the wheel tighter. "They told me to keep my eyes open tonight," he mutters to his partner, Officer Danielle Cruz, a rookie only 6 months on the job. She nods but says nothing. The last time a high-profile prisoner came through after midnight, a riot broke out in intake. Inside bus 3, Dre Carter sits chained at the wrists and ankles, a plastic evidence bag containing his clothes on the floor by his feet. He stares at the reflection of his own face in the dark window, a face still boyish with the faintest trace of a mustache, but his eyes already hardened by Rikers' reputation. Across the aisle, another detainee, a hulking man in a red hoodie known only as Stone, watches him with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Stone is facing attempted murder charges. Unconfirmed whispers say he's tied to the same robbery but flipped as an informant. Dre shifts in his seat. No one here is supposed to know each other, but everyone does. As the convoy clears the bridge checkpoint, an unmarked sedan idles in the shadow of a maintenance shed. Inside sits Detective Isaac O'Neill, NYPD Internal Affairs. His assignment tonight: monitor Dre Carter's transfer. Too many irregularities, missing evidence, contradictory witness statements, a sealed report about an undercover officer whose name appears nowhere in the paperwork. O'Neill scribbles in a notebook as the buses roll past. He's been in this game long enough to smell a setup. And something about tonight stinks. Rikers Island at night feels like a city unto itself. 400 acres of jails, barracks, and administrative offices connected by cracked asphalt roads. The complex holds thousands of detainees awaiting trial or serving short sentences. Federal monitors have documented rampant excessive force by staff, inmate-on-inmate assaults, and chronic understaffing. Morales knows the numbers. He also knows the stories told in hushed tones at roll call. Officers beaten in stairwells, inmates left bleeding in solitary, contraband moving through hidden routes that never show on maps. Some stories are documented, others speculated, but all of them fuel the island's mythology. The convoy slows at the intake building, a low structure with flickering fluorescent lights and a smell of damp paper. A cluster of officers waits with clipboards. Morales steps off the lead bus, nods at the shift supervisor, then glances back at bus 3. Dre Carter is still staring out the window, Stone still smiling. Cruz checks the prisoner manifest. "Captain, we're short one body." Morales frowns. "What do you mean?" She shows him the list. 10 detainees were loaded at Manhattan Detention Center. Only 9 are listed as received by Rikers. Morales climbs back into the bus to count. All 10 men are there. A bead of sweat runs down Morales's neck. Paperwork errors happen all the time, but not on a midnight high-profile transfer. He radios the control tower. "Confirm head count for bus 3. Static." Then a voice. "Control to Captain Morales, negative on 1 inmate. Intake log shows 9. Morales looks at Dre Carter. Dre looks back, expression unreadable. Stone chuckles softly. Outside, thunder rumbles. Detective O'Neill kills the engine of his sedan and watches through binoculars. He sees Morales climb onto the bus, sees him gesture angrily at the shackled prisoners. He scribbles another note, possible ghost inmate? He's heard rumors of disappearing detainees, people booked into Rikers who never show up in the system, moved off-site to undisclosed locations, sometimes for their own protection, sometimes not. Unconfirmed. Always denied. Inside the intake building, a clerk stamps forms without looking up. Cruz hands over the manifest, but the clerk hesitates. This one, she says, tapping Dre Carter's name, is flagged. Cruz feels a chill. Flagged how? The clerk shrugs. Just says, hold separate, level red. No location assigned. Cruz glances at Morales, who is still on the bus. What does level red mean? The clerk doesn't answer. Morales ushers Dre off the bus, separating him from the others. Stone cranes his neck to watch, eyes gleaming. Dre walks stiffly, chains clinking. Where are you taking me? He asks. Morales says nothing. Cruz follows, her hand near her radio. They lead Dre down a side corridor not on the public tour maps, the walls narrower, painted a different shade of institutional beige. The fluorescent lights here flicker and buzz. Somewhere far off, a door slams. O'Neill leaves his car, flashes his badge at the gate and strides toward intake. He's not supposed to interfere. Tonight he's only an observer, but something about that corridor makes his gut tighten. He's seen it once before years ago when a confidential informant vanished between buses. The case was sealed. The informant never surfaced. Morales stops at a steel door marked, authorized staff only. He swipes his ID. The lock clicks. Beyond lies a hallway lined with empty holding pens. Where are we going? Cruz whispers. Morales lowers his voice. Special housing. They told me to bring him here direct. Who told you? She asks. Morales doesn't answer. Dre Carter glances over his shoulder. I didn't do it, he says quietly. You gotta believe me. Morales pushes him gently forward. They reach the end of the hall where another door waits, unmarked, no window. Morales swipes his ID again. This time the light stays red. Damn it. He swipes again. Red. From behind them, footsteps echo. Cruz spins. Two men in plain clothes approach, badges tucked into their belts. We'll take it from here, one says. His accent is local but his tone military. Chain of custody. Morales frowns. Who are you? Special assignment, the man says. Orders from downtown. He holds out a clipboard without names. Cruz's hand tightens on her radio. Captain? Morales hesitates. This is not procedure. The man in plain clothes smiles thinly. You can go back to your bus now. Dre Carter stiffens. Yo, what is this? The second man grabs his arm. Easy, kid. Dre struggles. The first man glances at Morales. We don't have all night. Detective O'Neill rounds the corner just as the plainclothes men reach for Dre. Hey, he shouts. All four turn. O'Neill flashes his badge. Internal affairs. This transfer is not cleared. Silence hangs like a blade. Dre's eyes dart between the men. Morales feels the tension crackle in the stale air. One of the plainclothes men slowly lowers his clipboard. You're making a mistake, detective, he says. Before anyone can speak again, an alarm blares somewhere deep in the complex. A long, mournful wail. Red strobes pulse in the hallway. Over the loudspeaker, a voice barks, Code 95 Tier C intake. All available units respond. The plainclothes men exchange a glance. One mutters, we're out of time. They shove Dre toward the unmarked door. It swings open now as if by unseen hand, revealing a stairwell descending into darkness. O'Neill reaches for his radio. Control, this is O'Neill IA. I need, but his signal is dead. Cruz draws her baton. Captain? Morales is frozen. Dre Carter yells, they're gonna kill me. The stairwell yawns like a throat. And that's when Cruz spots it, a small blood-stained envelope lying on the floor near the stairwell door. She picks it up. On the back, in hurried black ink, are 3 words, he knows everything. She looks up. The plainclothes men are gone. Dre Carter is gone. The stairwell door swings shut with a soft click. The alarm keeps wailing. Into the hidden wing. The alarm still wailed through the intake corridor, a low dirge-like sound that made the concrete vibrate under Cruz's boots. Red lights pulsed against the beige walls, throwing her shadow into jagged fragments. The stairwell door was shut tight now, its steel surface slick with condensation. Morales stood a few feet away, breathing hard, his radio useless static. For a moment no one moved. Then Cruz held up the envelope she'd found. Blood had seeped through the paper, leaving a dark fingerprint on her glove. He knows everything. Where's Carter? She demanded. Her voice cracked louder than she meant. Morales blinked as if waking from a trance. He was right here. Detective O'Neill holstered his badge and tried the stairwell handle. Lock. He yanked harder, bracing one foot against the wall. The handle refused to turn. This isn't standard construction, he muttered. Every door and intake opens out, not down. He traced the edge with his fingers. There was no keycard reader on this side, only a blank metal plate. Who the hell are those guys? Cruz asked. O'Neill's jaw tightened. People with permission. He held up his phone. No service. Not even the faint, emergency calls only icon. We need to move now, before they disappear. Morales stared down the hallway where his buses waited. The other detainees would be rioting by now, spooked by the alarm. His entire career balanced on this moment: follow orders or follow conscience. He looked at Cruz, at the envelope, at O'Neill. We're not supposed to be here, he said quietly. This is above my pay grade. Then why did you bring him? O'Neill snapped. Morales's face hardened. Because somebody from downtown told me to. That's all I know. A deep metallic groan echoed from behind the stairwell door, like something heavy sliding across concrete. Then silence. Cruz swallowed hard. Where does that go? She whispered. O'Neill glanced around and found a faded evacuation map bolted to the wall under plexiglass. He traced the corridors with his finger. The stairwell wasn't on it. Instead, a blank gray rectangle sat where the stairwell should be, labeled maintenance. Hidden wing, he murmured. Unmarked. Either for informants or contraband runs. Morales's radio suddenly hissed to life. Code 95 cleared. False alarm. All units stand down. The red light snapped off. Fluorescence buzzed back to life, harsh and white. The corridor looked normal again, as if nothing had happened. Cruz looked at Morales. False alarm, she said. That was no false alarm. O'Neill crouched, running his hands along the baseboard. He found a hairline seam in the wall panel next to the door. There's a secondary latch, he muttered. Old Rikers trick. He pressed his thumb into the seam. A faint click sounded. The door shifted a fraction of an inch. Got it? He looked at Morales. Captain, if we go down there, there's no going back. You still in? Morales hesitated. He thought of his wife, his daughter asleep in Queens, the mortgage, the pension. Then he thought of the blood-stained envelope and the boy's eyes pleading, I didn't do it. He nodded once. I'm in. Cruz tightened her grip on her baton. Let's move. O'Neill shoved the door. It opened silently this time, revealing a stairwell lit by a single naked bulb. The air smelled of mildew and old smoke. They descended 1 flight, 2, 3, deeper than any intake wing should go. At the bottom, a corridor stretched away, narrower than the one above, lined with thick doors. Each door bore a single number stenciled in black. No names, no slots, just numbers. The floor was sticky under their shoes. Jesus, Cruz whispered. What is this place? Unofficial, O'Neill said. Pretrial segregation. They call it the tombs under the island. They passed door after door. Behind one, a man coughed weakly. Behind another, someone whispered a prayer in Spanish. None of this was on the books. Morales's radio crackled again, a voice he didn't recognize. Return to your post. This area is restricted. Last warning. He killed the radio. They're watching us, he said. At the end of the corridor, a faint light spilled from a half-open door. They crept closer. Inside was a small office, walls lined with filing cabinets. A corkboard held mugshots connected by red string. In the middle sat a battered metal desk. On it lay an open file stamped confidential and was the internal. Cruz picked it up. The first page bore Dre Carter's photo. Beneath it, a heading, Cooperating Witness, Operation Harbolite. She flipped to the next page. It listed dates, names, a sealed indictment against a city councilman, and a schedule for protective relocation. He wasn't a suspect, she breathed. He was a witness. O'Neill scanned the sheet. They were moving him off the island before someone could silence him. Morales's stomach dropped. Then who are we dealing with? A faint scuff of shoes made them all spin. In the doorway stood Stone, the hulking detainee from the bus, but without cuffs, without chains. He grinned. You're in the wrong hallway, Captain. Cruz raised her baton. How did you get out? Stone stepped into the room, hands empty, smile widening. You shouldn't have come down here. Before anyone could react, the lights went out. Total darkness swallowed the corridor. Footsteps retreated fast. A door slammed. Then the sound of running water, heavy, gushing, echoed from somewhere nearby as if a valve had been opened. O'Neill flicked his flashlight on. The room was empty. Stone gone. File gone. Only the corkboard remained, red strings cut. From the corridor came a new sound, the clang of metal shutters dropping into place, sealing the way back up. Cruz whispered, "We're trapped." Morales stepped toward the door, but a narrow stream of water was already snaking along the floor, carrying with it a single playing card, the ace of spades, soaked and curling at the edges. It drifted past his boot like an omen. They were 3 stories beneath Rikers Island now, in a wing no one admitted existed, with no radio, no file, no witness, and a man named Stone who clearly wasn't just another detainee. "Detective," Morales said, voice low. "What's really going on?" O'Neill stared at the ace of spades, then at the black corridor beyond. "Something we were never supposed to see," he said. "And if we don't get out fast, we're going to end up like him." Somewhere ahead a door creaked open, spilling a triangle of yellow light onto the wet floor. A man's voice floated out, calm and taunting. "Come on then. You wanted the truth. Follow me." Cruz looked at Morales. Morales looked at O'Neill. There was no way back. Only forward into the hidden heart of Rikers. And with that they stepped toward the light. The labyrinth below. The triangle of yellow light stretched across the wet floor like a path painted in gold. Cruz felt the water rising against her boots, a cold tide seeping out of unseen drains. Morales's breathing was loud in the hush. O'Neill wiped his palm on his trousers, the ace of spades still at his feet. They were 3 stories under Rikers Island now, no way back, radio's dead, the only choice to move forward. The voice called again from the darkness ahead, smooth and measured, "You're almost there. The truth you wanted, it's right ahead." Then silence. Morales squared his shoulders and stepped first. "Stay behind me," he whispered. Cruz followed, baton at the ready. O'Neill came last, flashlight beam dancing over pipes and peeling paint. The corridor narrowed, turned, and then opened into a cavernous space that didn't belong under any jail. A defunct utility tunnel, high ceiling, rusting catwalks over channels of black water. Bare bulbs swung on frayed cords, throwing ghostly light. Against one wall stood a row of cages. Not cells. Cages. Chain-link enclosures big enough for a man to stand, each with a folding chair and a camera mounted overhead. In some hung orange jumpsuits like scarecrows. In others, nothing but shadows. Cruz's stomach churned. "What is this place?" she whispered. "An off-book holding area," O'Neill said grimly. "Interrogations. Stashes. Where people get lost before arraignment." From the far end of the room came footsteps. Stone emerged from behind a pillar, no cuffs, no hoodie now, just a dark tactical vest and an ID badge that flashed in the swinging light. He wasn't smiling anymore. "Detective O'Neill," he said. "Captain Morales. Officer Cruz. You've made my night very difficult." Cruz gripped her baton tighter. "Who are you really?" she demanded. Stone's eyes were flat. "Contractor. Your bosses call me a security liaison. My job was to extract Carter quietly. You interfered." Morales stepped forward. "He's a 19-year-old kid. You're supposed to protect him, not disappear him." Stone tilted his head. "Protection is relative. Carter had evidence on men who think nothing of burning families alive. You think the courts can keep him safe? We're the only firewall left." O'Neill's flashlight beam found a door behind Stone, steel with a keypad and a small window. Through the glass they glimpsed a dimly lit room and a figure hunched on a chair, head bowed, chains at his wrists. "Dre Carter." "Let him go," O'Neill said. Stone's lips twitched. "Can't. Not yet. He's not ready to testify. We're moving him to a black site tonight. Clean exit, no paper trail. And you're going to help me." "Not a chance," Morales growled. Stone sighed. "I hoped you'd be smart." He reached slowly into his vest and pulled out a small remote. "This tunnel floods if I press this. Old security measure. Nobody finds bodies here." Cruz felt a bead of sweat run down her temple. "You're bluffing." Stone pressed a button. A siren wailed, low and ugly. Valves hissed somewhere in the dark. Water surged from grates, swirling higher. In the room beyond the glass, Dre lifted his head, eyes wide, mouth moving silently. The chain rattled as he tried to stand. O'Neill stepped closer, hands out. "You don't have to do this," he said. "If Carter dies, your whole operation burns." Stone's gaze flickered, the first crack in his calm. "He's not supposed to die." You are. He turned and punched a code into the keypad. The steel door clicked. He pushed it open, grabbed Dre by the arm. Move. Morales lunged. Stone swung the remote like a club. It smashed against Morales' shoulder, sending him staggering. Cruz charged, baton raised. Stone shoved Dre back into the room and slammed the door. The keypad locked. Siren still screaming. O'Neill fired his flashlight beam across the room, searching. He found a narrow maintenance ladder climbing up into darkness. This way, he shouted. Cruz hauled Morales upright. They sloshed toward the ladder, water now knee-deep. Above them, a grate opened with a clang. A face peered down, gaunt, pale, eyes ringed with fatigue. A voice hissed, "Over here." Another detainee? An officer? Impossible to tell. They're moving him to the ferry dock. If you want the kid alive, go up. Cruz looked at O'Neill. O'Neill looked at Morales. The water swirled faster, now waist-deep, carrying debris, papers, a cracked pair of glasses, a single handcuff. Stone's voice echoed from beyond the door. Too late. By the time you surface, we're gone. O'Neill gritted his teeth. Not if I can help it. He jammed a screwdriver from his pocket into the keypad, sparks flying. Cruz and Morales began to climb the ladder. Water slapped at the first rungs. The gaunt face above disappeared. The grate clanged shut. Only darkness above now. Morales paused on the ladder, dripping. Detective, if you stay, you'll drown. O'Neill didn't answer. He twisted the screwdriver harder. Sparks spit. The keypad beeped. A green light flickered once, then died. The siren cut off. The water slowed but didn't stop. Cruz shouted, "We can't leave him." She reached down, but Morales pulled her up. "We'll come back," he said. "We have to get out and call for help." O'Neill looked up from the ruined keypad. The steel door was still locked, Dre still chained inside, Stone gone. He slammed his fist against the metal. Damn it. He turned to follow them up the ladder. But when he looked again, Cruz and Morales were already vanishing into the shaft. The water rose around his knees, cold and heavy. Somewhere above, muffled through concrete, came the faint thrum of engines, a ferry revving up. Stone was moving Carter off the island. O'Neill grabbed the ladder and began to climb. At the top, the grate gave way under Morales' shoulder. They spilled into a narrow service corridor lit by emergency bulbs. The air here smelled of diesel and river mud. A faded sign on the wall read "Dock Access, Authorized Only." Cruz wiped her face, gasping. "He's taking Carter to the dock." Morales scanned the corridor. "Then we cut them off before the boat leaves." Far below, in the labyrinth, water surged against the steel door, rattling the chains on Dre Carter's wrists. The ferry at midnight. Rain hammered the corrugated roof of the service corridor as Morales and Cruz sprinted, boots splashing through puddles. Emergency lights flickered along the walls, casting everything in a bruised orange glow. Somewhere ahead, a diesel engine rumbled. The ferry was warming up. O'Neill emerged from the grate behind them, soaked to the waist, hair plastered to his forehead. "They're moving," he gasped. "Docks at the end of this tunnel." They ran together, the corridor narrowing until a steel door blocked the way. Above it, a hand-painted sign, "Authorized Dock Access Only." Morales rammed his shoulder against it. It groaned but held. Cruz spotted a security panel beside the door. She ripped it open, yanked wires until sparks spit and the lock clicked. The door swung out to a blast of cold river air. The dock sprawled before them, a low platform jutting into the East River, lit by a single floodlight. Beyond it, the hulking shape of the Rikers ferry shifted against its moorings, engines growling. Two figures were moving down the gangway, Stone and Dre Carter. Carter's hands were still chained, his hood up against the rain. Stone held him by the arm, steering him like a package. "Stone." O'Neill's voice cracked across the dock. Stone turned slowly, rain running off his vest. "Detective," he called back, calm as ever. "You should have stayed upstairs." Morales stepped forward. "Let him go." Stone shook his head. "You don't get it. Carter was never a suspect. He's the key witness in a case that could bring down half the city's power brokers. If I don't move him now, he's dead by morning. If you drag him back into intake, you're delivering him to the same people who set him up." O'Neill kept walking, palms out. "Then prove it. Bring him in officially. Protective custody. I can make the call." Stone's expression hardened. "You can't protect him. Not from them. Not from your own department." Cruz glanced at Dre. His eyes met hers, terrified. "Help me," he mouthed. Behind Stone, the ferry's horn blasted once. Crewmen in dark raincoats stood ready to cast off. Stone pulled a pistol from under his vest and aimed it low, not at them but at the dock, a warning. "Last chance," he said. "Walk away." Morales took another step. "If you shoot, every camera on this dock will see it." Stone smiled faintly. "Cameras don't work here." O'Neill lunged, drawing his badge like a shield. "I'm internal affairs." "Drop the weapon." For the first time Stone's calm cracked. "You think that means anything?" he barked. "IA signed off on this operation." Rain sheeted between them. Dre Carter swayed on his feet, chains clinking. "I didn't do it," he shouted. "They framed me." Cruz's hand closed on the baton at her hip. Morales is on his radio. In the split second of tension, O'Neill saw a flash of movement, a shadow behind Stone on the gangway. A crewman lifted something metallic, angled it towards Stone. "A gun." "Down?" O'Neill yelled. The shot cracked like thunder. Stone staggered, eyes wide, a red bloom spreading across his vest. He turned, firing back. The crewman fell. Chaos erupted. Dre lurched free, chains clattering. Morales ran forward, grabbing Dre by the arm, pulling him toward the dock. Stone dropped to one knee, blood mixing with rainwater. "Go!" Stone rasped. "Get him out." Cruz reached them, swinging her baton at another crewman rushing up. O'Neill grabbed Dre's other arm. Together they dragged the kid off the gangway onto the dock. Behind them the ferry's horn bellowed again, then the engines roared as someone threw the throttle forward. The vessel lurched, lines snapping, drifting away from the dock. Stone collapsed against the railing, blood running from his mouth. "You don't know," he gasped. "It's bigger than all of us." Then the ferry's lights swung away, taking him and the dead crewman into the dark current. Morales, Cruz and O'Neill huddled around Dre on the dock, rain pelting their faces. Sirens wailed now, real sirens, as NYPD units converged from the far end of the island. Helicopter blades thumped overhead. Dre looked up at O'Neill, eyes wide. "Am I safe?" O'Neill didn't answer right away. He stared at the disappearing ferry, at the black water swallowing its wake. Then he turned back. "You're safer than you were an hour ago," he said quietly. "But you're not out yet." Two patrol officers ran up, shouting questions. Morales flashed his badge, barking orders. Cruz pulled off her jacket and draped it over Dre's shoulders. In the distance, lightning forked across the skyline, illuminating the vast sprawl of Rikers, fences, towers, and hidden somewhere below, the flooded corridors of the labyrinth. Later, in a federal safe house, Dre Carter would testify under seal about the robbery, the councilman's aid, and a network of dirty money snaking through city contracts. His testimony would topple careers and launch investigations. Officially, the midnight incident at Rikers would be logged as a training drill gone wrong. No mention of Stone. No mention of the hidden wing. But in the back of her mind, Cruz would remember the blood-stained envelope, the ace of spades and Stone's final words. "Bigger than all of us." And for viewers watching this documentary, one question would hang like a storm cloud. If this is what slipped out into the open, how much remains hidden beneath Rikers Island?